So, I've been living in Turkey for about 3 years now, and people always ask me, what do I like about living here? What do I not like? Would I recommend it? Today, in this video, I want to answer all those questions and share with you guys my definitive list of the absolute best and absolute worst parts of living here in Istanbul, Turkey, as a foreigner, as an expat. And be sure to stay all the way to the end of the video where I'll share with you guys my #1 reason why I love living here. Alright, so let's kick it right off with something that should be pretty obvious if you take a look at a map, and that is Istanbul's location. Istanbul is literally, as far as I'm concerned, at the center of the world. You've got it connected to Europe on one side, to the Middle East and Asia on the other side, and just across the Mediterranean down south you've got Africa. It's like you got 3 continents right here, and just being at the center of all that is an amazing place to be, especially if you like to travel. And now for the first downside of living here, and it's kind of related to the first upside, which is the location. Istanbul, as you may know, is located pretty much right on a tectonic fault line, and that means that there's a pretty high risk of earthquakes here. That is just a reality of living here, and it's a risk like other regions around the world may have typhoon risk or hurricane risk. Earthquakes are a risk here. And just a few months ago we had kind of a scary earthquake that happened here. You know, things were shaking, falling off the walls, and as someone who's not from this part of the world and not accustomed to dealing with earthquakes, that was pretty freaky. Reason number 2 why living in Istanbul is great is the flights. Kind of related to the location, but also the airlines that they have here. Turkish Airlines, love them or hate them, they still fly to more countries than any other airline in the world. And so if you travel a lot like me, then being here and having access to that airline and that flight network is absolutely huge. I mean, you can fly pretty much anywhere in the world on a direct flight from Istanbul. Not many places can say that. Alright, my second downside to living here in Turkey is kind of an obvious one, but it's just that reality that you are a foreigner here. I'm not from here, this is not my culture, not my country, and so occasionally it can get a little bit lonely. This is really just the reality of living as an expat, as a foreigner in a foreign country. You know, it's not your home, and occasionally you will miss certain things about home. I will miss walking into a store and immediately knowing, without having to decipher anything, what the products are and where I need to go to get done whatever I need to get done or find whatever I'm looking for. And you can alleviate this feeling a little bit by really immersing yourself in the culture, making local friends and all that, but at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't change the reality that it's not your country, you're not from here, I'm not from Turkey, I will never be truly a Turk. That's just a reality, and that's part of living abroad. It's what makes it exciting, but it's also difficult at times. Number 3 on my list of best parts of living in Istanbul, Turkey is, maybe surprisingly, the language. Now, anyone who's tried to study Turkish will tell you that it's not easy. Look, I just really like the Turkish language. I think it sounds cool. I've been learning it for a few years now, and I love the way it's structured. It's totally different from English, but I really appreciate that kind of intellectual challenge that comes with it. I think that learning the language here is a pretty essential thing to do if you're going to actually live here, because while there might be some pretty good English spoken in the more touristy areas, English is not super widespread in Turkey. You know, if you're gonna stay here longer, if you're gonna get a rental contract and utilities in your apartment and navigate just the ins and outs of daily life of living here, you're gonna need some Turkish, there's no doubt about it. If you're not really a language person, or if you don't have any interest in learning any Turkish, then language might also be one of your worst parts of living here, because there is a little bit of a language barrier. But luckily, we're living in 2025, it is the technological age, and so every day there are more and more solutions to help us minimize those language barriers. And that's why I was very happy when Time Kettle reached out and asked me to tell you guys about their new T1 AI translator. The new T1 is this super compact and handy translation device that can help you overcome language barriers around the world. It translates 40 languages in 93 different accents and has 13 pairs of offline languages. It's purpose-built for translation, and it's really good at it, with ChatGPT built in and up to 95% accuracy. Alright guys, now to put the new T1 to the test, I've recruited the help of my girlfriend, Ilkay.
Hey, Bob.
And guys, even though my Turkish is getting better, sometimes when she speaks in her super fast local Izmir Turkish, I still can't keep up. So let's see, give it your best shot.
Amerikalıların neden buzlu su içmeyi ve klimayı bu kadar çok sevdiğini asla anlamıyorum.
I never understand why Americans love drinking ice water and air conditioning so much. Is that right?
Yeah, right.
There's also a listening mode, which is great if you're listening to long-form speeches or lectures in a foreign language. It can even do camera translations in 40 different languages, and it comes with 2 years of free, unlimited, and worldwide mobile data. There's also a world clock and a currency converter, all included in this super sleek and compact design. Click the links down in the description below and use the promo codes for 5% off your very own Time Kettle New T1 today. Number 4 on the list of best parts of living in Istanbul is that it's just a major city. There's more than like 20 million people living here. There's lots going on. Like I said, it's the center of the world, and so with that comes all of the good things about living in a big city. You've got events, you've got concerts, you've got shows, you've got sporting events, all different kinds of neighborhoods and different vibes and different cultures and subcultures that you can explore here. And just being in a big city like Istanbul, you never are bored. Number 4 on the downsides list is a bit related to it being a major city, and that is traffic. Yeah, if you've ever been here, you've probably heard about it from every taxi driver that you've ever gone with. People love to talk about it, but yeah, it's true. Traffic is a problem here. And it's a little kind of surprising because the public transport system here in Istanbul is really developed. I mean, you've got metro, you've got metro bus, which is like a bus with a dedicated lane on the highway. You've got normal buses, ferries, you've got these little dolmuş, which are like mini buses that go on certain routes. There's all different ways to get around, but for whatever reason, the traffic here is still brutal. Terrible traffic. Next up on the list of best parts about living here in Istanbul, Turkey as a foreigner is the Turkish people. Now, it may be a little tricky to meet people at first, to meet locals at first when you first get here, just because of that language barrier that I mentioned, but if you're persistent and you break through that shyness, and if you make a little effort to learn a little bit of Turkish as well, you're gonna break right through that barrier, and then you'll find that the Turkish people are very welcoming, very interested in foreigners, very happy to learn about you and about where you're from and share their culture with you. Turkish people are really proud of being Turkish, I've found, and really happy to share their culture, their food, their customs, their traditions with you as a foreigner. It's always great to be in a place where you feel like you're welcomed, where you feel like people around you are proud of where they are. So the Turkish people, amazing. Alright, the next downside might be one of the most brutal. One of the worst parts about living here as a foreigner in Istanbul, Turkey, is the bureaucracy. This will be the one that might just make you give up as you try to, establish yourself living here, because it can be a total nightmare and there's just no way around it. So everything from getting your ikamet, which is your residence card, that has become very difficult. Tons of paperwork, a lot of expenses, and then at the end of the day they might just reject you and provide no reason whatsoever. It will repel a lot of people from living here. Only the hardiest will survive. Only if you really, really, really want to be in Turkey, like I did, then you'll make it happen. But it is difficult. There are a few other bureaucratic things here in Turkey. For example, dealing with telecom here. And if you're visiting here with your home cell phone, like everyone is, it will work for the first 6 months, and then after it will completely shut off. Not the SIM card, the actual device IMEI ID itself. So no matter what you do, no matter what SIM card you switch in or out, eSIM, it will not work. It will not connect to any mobile services unless you pay over $1,000 to the Turkish government as some sort of fee to make your foreign phone work in Turkey after the first 6 months. I can't bring myself to pay it. I'm not gonna pay $1,000 to continue using the phone that I already bought. So to get around it, I have another phone, a second phone, where I put a SIM card in there and then hotspot 24/7 to my primary phone. Not great. Bureaucracy here, it's a frustration for the locals as well. There is something here called yurt dışı çıkış harcı, which is basically like foreign exit fee. I've never seen it anywhere else in the world in any other country, but it's real. Here in Turkey, a Turkish citizen, to leave this country on vacation or to visit anywhere else outside of Turkey, they actually have to pay an exit fee to their own government to leave. So when I'm traveling with my girlfriend who's Turkish, we're going to the airport, she stops at a kiosk at the airport and, types in her ID number, pays this fee, and then she is allowed to leave the country. And if you don't pay that fee, you cannot leave the country. A lot of bureaucracy here. It's a thing in many, many countries around the world, difficult bureaucracy. It's not unique to Turkey, but it is a difficulty of living here. Next up on the list of best parts about living in Istanbul, Turkey as a foreigner is the cost of living. And if you're looking at me like I'm totally nuts, don't worry, it's gonna be a downside right after this as well. It's a pro and a con. Yeah. The reality is, if you are a Westerner, if you're coming from Western Europe or the United States or some of these other countries, even though things have gotten a bit more expensive here since even I showed up, the cost of living in Turkey may be significantly lower than where you're coming from. Obviously, that's not the case for everyone, and I'm very lucky to earn in US dollars, but since this is a video about the best and worst parts of living here as a foreigner, as an expat, this is worth mentioning. And then there's the flip side of that, which is that the cost of living here has gone up so much compared to where it was in recent years that I'm actually gonna add it into the list of downsides of living here as well. So 4 years ago, when I first started coming here, for example, it was really cheap coming as a foreigner. It's really not the case anymore. The costs have gone up significantly. Certain things can be very expensive here, even if you're earning in dollars. It can be more or less on par with parts of Europe. And sort of relatedly, there's just the kind of unpredictability and instability of the Turkish economy. High inflation, the Turkish lira is all over the place. I think when I first came here, $1 was worth like 12 lira, and now $1 is worth like 40 lira. It's created a really difficult situation for many of the locals here in Turkey, and like I said, things have even gotten significantly more expensive even when you compare it to the dollar somehow. There are definitely cheaper places out there to live as a digital nomad or as a traveler or a short-term visitor. Yeah, both a pro and a con if you're coming here as an expat. Alrighty guys, well done to everyone who's stuck around to the end, and now it is time for me to share my #1 favorite part about living here in Istanbul, Turkey, and that is just the culture of the place, the history of the place. I mean, you walk down the street in Istanbul and you can feel that you're in an extremely consequential place in history. Especially me as an American, I'll see things on a random walk to grab a coffee in my neighborhood that were built long before my country was even founded. And so that's just so cool to know that you are living in a place with so much history, a place that has been really at the center of the world for such a long time. And the other part of that is Istanbul is a melting pot. It is truly where East meets West. It's the Bosphorus Strait splits the continents. You have Europe on one side, Asia on the other side, and that's just a geographic thing, but it's also a cultural thing. This is where Europe meets the Middle East and Asia, and so you have this amazing blend of Eastern and Western culture, of religious and secular culture, all blended together here, and Istanbul is sort of the epitome of that even within Turkey. And so it's just an incredible place to live, to feel that history, that culture, that unique combination of cultures all around you, and it's my absolute favorite part of living here in Istanbul. Alrighty guys, and that is gonna do it. Let me know what you think of my opinions down in the comments below, and if any of you guys have questions that I didn't cover, drop them in the comments as well, and I will try to answer as many of those as I can. Stick around because I'll have more coming from here in Turkey and all around the world very soon. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.